Mascagro, welcome, assalamu alaikum, masa el khair, kalispera, bonjour, I guess bonsoir. Wherever you're tuning in from the world, welcome family, friends, lovers of Nubia from around the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our closing session of NubiaFest 2021. I don't even know where to begin and what happened this week, but I am grateful to be here with the NubiaFest fam. We are still missing two more of our co-organizers, and I hope they'll be able to join us. But I take a moment to go around, and if you don't already know who our team is, we will be making these introductions. I yield to my sister Minna to just make a quick introduction in Arabic to let our family know that we are going to be interchanging and switching and holding these conversations in all the language we can.
مساء الخير، صباح الخير. ما اعتقدش ان في صباح خالص، كلنا مساء الخير صح في الفترة دي. كلنا مساء الخير لكل الناس اللي بتسمعنا، واحنا دلوقتي في اخر يوم من نوبيا فيست. خلصنا بعد اسبوع رائع. ما اعرفش انت كنتي تعبانه يا ديما؟ اكيد مش تعبانه خالص صح؟ اكيد مش هلكانه خالص، اكيد فيكي حيل وكل حاجه كويسه. نورتونا الايام اللي فاتت، والنهارده ده النقاش الختامي بتاعنا. هنتونس بعد كده بشكل مفتوح في الساعتين الجايين، بس دلوقتي هتبقى الختام الرسمي. واللي انتوا شايفينهم دلوقتي قدامكم هم المنظمين لنوبيا فيست، مش كلهم بيتكلموا عربي، فدلوقتي نتكلم ما بين عربي وانجليزي، فمعلش سامحونا. ديما تحبي تقدمينا لو سمحتي؟
بتهيألي كل واحد يقدم نفسه really لأنه خلاص دي ما قدمت فيه كفاية. No, I do want to yield to Vincent. Introduce yourself, share a few words about how you found NubiaFest, or no, just introduce yourself. We'll get into what NubiaFest 2021 has been in a moment.
All right, good evening to everyone. I'm Vincent. I study Old Nubia. I help with NubiaFest.
That's what we're leaving it as? That's all?
I don't know, like, it just becomes less and less and less, I think. At some point, I'll just introduce myself, oh, I'm V, and then that will be it.
Oh, we can't drop the doctor now, can we? Doctor.
It feels rather self-indulgent. onward to someone else.
Right, okay, well, Alexandros, my brother, Kalispera.
Kalispera. I'm Alexandros, and I'm Iskandar, and I'm Grigi. And I'm also helping Nubia Fest, being a student of Nubia.
Have we lost Alexandros?
No, I haven't lost you.
No,
I'm still
you're here. And I love that you call yourself a student of Nubia. I think yes. Okay, thank you for that. Arbab.
We cannot all be scholars, right? Someone needs to be still learning things.
I think all scholars need to be students before they become scholars. And I think invoking that and bringing that in is how to move forward. But that's just my opinion. And what do I know? I'm just exhausted. Arbab, there you are.
My name is Hatim. My nickname is Arbab. I am a type designer and occasional graphic designer for NubiaFest. And I guess now, one-time presenter, which is pretty fun.
I'm muted. I am really excited because while we don't have one of the, let's say, founders or one of the people who planted that first seed of NubiaFest 2020, as you can see, our family has grown, and I have a very, very strong feeling that for NubiaFest 2022, our family will continue to grow. And so we will have much more of a capacity to do more. It's such a privilege to know that one of the many sessions we held last year not just brought the two of you, Minna and Arbab, into the organizing team, but to also be presenters as part of NubiaFest, to share your experience, to share and really embody how we grow and build on one another. So I'm very grateful to that, and I want to just I'm not going to be facilitating this session. Please bear with me. I am far too exhausted. But I do want to ask for, what are you taking with you from NubiaFest 2021? And please don't let me call loud on you. Just unmute yourself and speak.
What I'm taking from NubiaFest 2021 is more Nubian language. We have had the most engagement in Nubian in this round, and I think there was a big focus on language starting by this session by the amazing Muhammad Omar and Arbab's session and his work on Nubian type, and Vincent's session and Vincent's work as well. So there is this time there's this presence of the Nubian language that exceeds every other event I have been to that relates to Nubia, especially that we actually had Islam, and I see Islam take us into a different level by turning one of our sessions, translating the entire session into Nubian, which was just amazing.
Quite historic.
I can only second what Mina is saying, and I think that this is what I would like to keep from this year, the promise that next year is going to be even more along these lines.
Well, what I think was great this year is that we were able to enlarge our organizing group. I think that was it's too bad that Mazin is not here with us, but he's very much with us in spirit. If I may be critical to how we performed, if that's allowed, I think that we could do much more in terms of putting out the word beforehand. I think and this is also like me as some, as co-responsible for all of this. And what I see from some of the sessions is that there is an enormous potential to gather large numbers of people, especially from the Nubian communities, to these events. And if we push a little bit harder on social media, on all of them beforehand, that this can be truly a really big event. Like, I am surprised by some of the numbers on some of the sessions, like hundreds and hundreds of people tuning in, which shows me that there is an audience. There's a large audience for this. And that if we somehow are able to do this, maybe even in a period where we're not already completely overworked, and this maybe we have to think about a different time of the year, maybe not the beginning of the academic semester, that there is we can grow so much. And I think that is very, very exciting.
I definitely want to, just kind of like echo what Vincent said, for sure. And I guess this is also echoing Minna a little bit. I saw a greater commitment this year to kind of like accessibility for the Nubian community. And, I think that's just like something that the entire field of Nubian studies, has kind of like failed to do for most of its history, at least the European side of Nubian studies. And that's just definitely something I want to see more of. More sessions in Arabic, more things related to, more research and scholarly work about Nubia in Arabic, in Nubian, in ways that can more easily reach the people whose heritage is being studied and talked about, and is, kind of like inspiring and driving a lot of this research.
I agree. I feel like we agree all together. We're just here to agree with each other, and I especially agree with Vincent for the how much that we could have done to kind of make sure this reaches everybody beforehand. Um, I think also a bit more work on translation, trying to bridge the gap between all our brothers and sisters Nubians by love who are scholars and who reject academia's involvement in Nubian necropolitics and are interested in serving the Nubian community, and the Nubian community who are so excited to know you and welcome you. Trust me, they are. We have been telling them stories about you all week long, and so I think translation is something that has a place. And as we have seen, Dima, it was not really bad for people to translate between English and Arabic in session, and it was not bad to translate between Arabic and Nubian in the session. So I think translation also can have a bigger
Whatever is
place in
blocking my
this.
camera, I'm sorry, whatever is blocking my camera, that's a fly. And I swear to you, I have no idea where this fly came from. I have lived in on Turtle Island in what, these United States I arrived 20 years ago. I have never encountered a fly, but someone on NubiaFest was doing this, and this fly presents itself. So
This
I'm
is
sorry. Yeah.
This is coming from this probably one of the displacement villages, and somebody did this and just jumped all the way around to you. Flies are our national animal, so
It's your totem.
it is our local animal for Nubian villages. So it makes sense that we have flies during NubiaFest team.
It really does bring Nubia to Nubia Fest, not in the sense of flies, but in that I have personally been transported time and time and time again in so many different sessions, ones that I have tuned into, ones that I've been part of. And this is a discussion that we had when we first started the discussion about Nubia Fest. And I remember very clearly Alexandros stopping the conversation and saying, what are we doing in Nubia with the Nubians? And ultimately, what had started the conversation is that I couldn't go back to Nubia at the time. COVID had hit. I was complaining and whining to Vincent, as I do very often. And he generously listens. And this was just a platform, and it was only a start. The goal has always been for that bridge to be there, for that space to hold us all, to hold all who love Nubia, Nubians by lineage and Nubians by love. And what I take from NubiaFest 2021 is all you have said, recognizing that there is always room for improvement, recognizing that there is so much potential, recognizing also that we are at such a capacity. We are in so many ways spreading ourselves thin. And I'm so grateful to Alexandros, because he put a quote out there when we were talking post our By the River session. And if you've missed the By the River session with Alexandros, with Vincent, with Minna, I did not. I failed miserably, and I did not have the capacity to have one with Arbab. But I did have one with Arbab last year for the For Black Power Day. Do check that. It's also on Nubia Fest, about his work with the tale of Amani Renas. But back to that quote from Alexandros is that he said, "Nothing that burns only on the outside." And that I must remember that. And that was so profound and so loud, and in so many ways, the story of my life in general, but specifically this week. The amount of people who have said, "Oh, you look so exhausted." And I was like, well, thank you so much. I tried so hard to do this. It comes with effort. But it is a reminder that we do have a capacity, and we don't need to be doing all of this alone. That is what I am taking out of NubiaFest 2021. There's no need for us to do it alone, because there are so many people who want to show up if they had known early enough. And so this is something that I hope for, and I look to doing differently for our next year, is to start from now, taking the commitments, and yes, potentially changing the time or the date. So if you're tuning in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and tell us how we can do better. Alexandros.
I'm tuning in from Norway, and I think one way of doing better would be to discuss what are the possibilities of actually staging NubiaFest 2022 in Nubia, and if not, why not?
Open sesame. Let's go.
Well, I threw the bomb.
Well, if you're gonna go that way.
So if we're going to go there. Let me tell you something. If we do Nubia Fest in Nubia, that is in Egypt, we have to do a lot of background work, like back-end work that has to do with security. And it actually puts at risk those of us who are Nubian more than those, or no, those of us who are Egyptian who hold the Egyptian passport, that more than others who don't. On the other hand, if we decide to go on the Sudanese side, you end up also with having to do that kind of work, and knowing how to bring for all these voices, because then the stretch of Nubian land in Sudan is vast. So Nubians in Egypt, we can just go in the middle of the displacement villages, and you are an hour away from almost every Nubian in the displacement villages in Egypt. And if we do it in the feast, you are an hour away from every single Nubian who exists in Egypt, because everybody goes to the feast there. In the Sudan, however, the stretch is so vast that we're going to have to make it, it's going to be a travel. And that's going to disadvantage some of the people who are not going to travel. So costs and security are my worry. However, I think, Alexandros, it's so important that we do this in Nubia, and I share your dream, and I think it's the right way to think about this, is that if we're going to do Nubia Fest, it has to be in Nubia, and it would be a way to claim Nubia as a land as much as it is as a story.
May I, please?
Go ahead.
Alexandros, go, because Alexandros, he threw the ball, so I guess you threw the ball back to him, but I'll wait.
Well, it's a very short follow-up, because I think that the idea of the travel is has nothing negative in it. On the contrary, definitely. But this is what a year might be for, because then the Nubia Fest would be not a thing involving a dozen of individuals, but perhaps less, those who have the possibility to engage in this type of travel. And of course, I would be the last one to tell you anything reconforting the worries about security.
Okay. Here's my thing, and I feel like this will resonate with, the resident anarchists here on this space. Why are we looking for, red tape, securities, getting permits? And it doesn't have to be an extravagant festival with tickets. Literally, for me, what Nubia Fest is, and because how Nubia Fest came as a discussion, it was after Africa Week 2020, and it was after Vincent had attended the open source publishing conference online. So it was literally the merging of these two experiences. And for Africa Week 2020, we said this is a virtual family meeting under the virtual family tree. And as you said, if we have it in Nubia on the Egyptian side or Nubia on the Sudanese side, that's still having one and leaving out the rest. What happens if we open the invitation for every village to have something, to hold that space, to engage their children, to engage their family, to engage their community, to hold the Nubia Fest for a week, do something different. All the villages that are next to each other, do something. When there's a Dabiha, when there's Eid, you don't need permits for Eid, but every time it's Nubia Day officially in Egypt, some excuse comes up and it gets canceled. Every time it is something of the, I mean, I don't even know how something like that will happen on the Sudanese side. As you said, it's quite fast, but why should we limit it to one or the other? Why can't we potentially open that? Like yesterday, how many villages were present in that live, Minna?
I would say at least 10 villages were present. But you know how many Nubian villages are there? Do you know how many Nubian villages are in Sudan, right? You know how many in Egypt? There are at least 48, 50 something. And so if we go for every village.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not on us to organize. All we need to do is hold a space, extend the invitation. Every village can decide what their Nubia Fest looks like and how they engage and connect the large. I mean, this requires work with our elders, with our communities on mainland Nubia and in the diaspora as well, because there are ways that we can communicate that. There are ways that one side can, like, you know, Nubia Fest is for a week. It can be one village a day, for example, for a cluster of villages that are close to each other. The possibilities, as Vincent said, is that the potential is there. The possibilities are endless. We are a creative people, and we don't do.
You need permit. You need permit to do any cultural event, any cultural assembly in Egypt. You need permits
for a wedding.
Anything formal? Wedding? No. But that's not gonna be a wedding. There's not gonna be a wedding, and it's going to be connected to all those foreigners on the internet who did NubiaFest. So it's going to be something that is. So let's see. Let me not be the person that is very the gloomy one here. I just as a person who does research there, I never even call it research because you need a research permit and you need a journalism permit and they have to kind of anyways. But there are other ways to engage even the villagers. Every Nubian village has a page on the internet with thousands of people who live in the village, and we can still have that on site or like inland or in a renegade cyberspace that we find for ourselves, and have this idea of all villages being represented. It's just as if you even materialize in audio, in auditory form. You materialize your existence or your village, because especially for us that our villages are hollow proxies or hollow shadows of our original villages, and they are just these renamings that the state just imposed on us. So I really like this idea. I really like this idea of bringing every village and bringing everybody in. We can start reaching them out through their Facebook pages and the WhatsApp pages that they have. Every village has a Facebook page with thousands of people in it. I'm sure they will be interested in saying something or representing. Oh, there is a sound in my background. There's a sound in my background.
There's a whistle there.
Yes, Hamza's making tea, and Hamza makes tea the old-fashioned with a tea kettle that makes a noise. I just discovered it in your lab
because of that.
Another thing that's happening, and that may or may not connect with NubiaFest, of course, is next year is the conference in Warsaw, which is going to be a week. And another way to think about this, which has its own risks, is to have NubiaFest operate during the same week as a way of bringing in Nubia into the conference much more prominently than it has been so far, both by featuring the Nubians that are at the conference, which we hope will be facilitated by our friends in Warsaw, and those who cannot be there, either by bringing in those who presented the conference into a session, like into a By the River chat, into like, can you give us like a 10-minute preview of what you're going to present, like small talks with scholars, because I mean everybody will be there, so it would also be highly informative, and at the same time, maybe it would allow a more strong Nubian cultural presence to be there at the conference as well, which I think is always, there is always this absence of Nubians at the International Nubian Conference. I think the risk side is that it becomes window dressing for the conference. And so unless there's a very strong own program and own agenda, it would risk being a very nice gift that we make that checks all the boxes but doesn't introduce any form of change. So that's kind of the calculus that I'm struggling with.
I think it's when is that, Vincent? When is it in?
It's
like
around when we do it. It's like late August, early September, I think. It's around the time when we normally do NubiaFest.
Well, at least last year it was in September. I think it's usually around September.
Wait, I have the date.
It's the last days of August, the first day of September.
Right, yeah, it's 29th of August till the 4th of September.
This in 2022. Now, there is a way to look at this and maybe connect the two ideas. If we are looking to potentially change the dates of NubiaFest to allow for a time that is not entirely crammed for those who are academics or are students within the organizing team, that it is done perhaps, I don't know, maybe for Nubia Day, and Nubia Day becomes Nubia Fest, we extend that for a week, and then we would have enough connections, materials, people to invite, to presence, to gather, and we can present that, whether it's the organizing team or all who are able to be present for that, be it virtually or physically, later in the year at the Nubian conference in Warsaw. That could also be something that we can. This fly is getting on my nerves and I don't have the patience for it. I have been up since 5:30.
I would like to add 2 thoughts on that. I don't necessarily support the idea of merging the dates of the NubiaFest with the ISNS conference for several reasons, among which the gift that Vincent named perhaps is on the top of the list. On the other hand, there is something that I would very much like to see, that the potential that is there in front, behind NubiaFest 2021. And this is that what is lacking always is a translation of at least all the program and the abstracts in Nubian, where already this would be an immense source of discussion, food for thought for all these people who don't know what is being said out there. And from these topics that will perhaps attract most of the attention, one could then consider how to represent them either during the conference by representation or afterwards during the NubiaFest.
Okay.
Lala, go ahead.
I was just going to agree with him with this. I think us working to respond to the conference and somehow fill the gaps and bring in those that we have found in the conferences, those scholars we found that are working with and for Nubians into our NubiaFest space, and actually confronting the narratives and the issues that come out of this conference. I think a confrontation, a Nubian confrontation of Nubian studies is so overdue, and I think it can take that space. The only issue here I want to raise is the translation into Nubian. I am an adamant advocate of translating everything into Nubian because it has meaning to me. However, for actuality, if don't know, in my entire life as a person who grew up Nubian, have never heard anything but being Nubian about Nubian lands, and it's just Nubian through and through. With family in Egypt and Sudan, I know 4 people who can read Nubian, and that only 2 of them are actually Nubian. So, or can read Nubian, fluently. So Nubian people actually cannot read it. So I agree that we should translate, but I also agree that we need to have that read out loud in audio form for accessibility. That would you like to know what happened? Do you want to know what those khalagat were talking about you, or were saying about you in that conference that cost a lot of money in a European city the last month? Here is a preview in Nubian read by somebody who actually speaks Nubian, and then I think it's our duty to bring that to Nubians, as Nubian knowledge has been distanced from our people and further distance for all these years. And maybe NubiaFest can kind of bridge this gap, Dima, as you were saying today.
I mean,
Yes.
it would be fantastic to have something of like a live reporters to the conference doing it in Nubian and Andandi, like a podcast, radio, like a
which they
reporter,
should be
like,
paying for. Which
yeah,
they should be paying for.
Absolutely, which they should be paying for.
And you know,
Because
while we're
completely
putting
agree.
dreams out there, we should also, you know, be saying Palestine will be free, and you know, genocidal.
No. This is a more obtainable dream than free Palestine. I would say.
You know what? And this is exactly my same issue with, you know, saying that we go to that conference and tell them about what we're doing at NubiaFest, you know, at NubiaFest, and bring them into the community. No, I would disagree with that, because I would say we hold our NubiaFest, we share what has been happening, how NubiaFest, because by then it would be our third tour around the sun, if you will. We share what that was about. We don't bring them in. You want to be, no one needs to be brought in anymore. You need to make the effort to take the steps to come to the community. If you're not doing that, there is no need for you.
Dima, but we don't bring them in, those who are not doing these steps. What we try to bring in is the knowledge that we have, that has been taken away from us.
Yeah, then that is flipped. Then that is, yes, having live reporters in Nubian and Andandi. That is, you know, something that is missing, for example, that I felt, okay, there was an art exhibition in Paris. Was part of the conference. I think it was in the you know, the closing speech.
Oh, it's better. It was in the fucking Louvre.
No. I'm not talking about the Louvre. There was a separate exhibition. I think it was.
I know.
Someone who, I can't remember. You know, it's ages ago now. But why there was specifically today, out of all days at NubiaFest, it was art. It was art. It started by Nubian cuisine, which was fantastic. Then we went into animation and fine arts, which was brilliant. And then we went into music and ethnomusicology and Reign Over Nubia duo. And we will be later, after this, ending it with, you know, you know, one of the icons of Nubian music, and an elder who will share all of the. We can bring art. There are plenty of Nubian artists across Europe who can physically potentially make it there. That can be an arm of NubiaFest there. That can be a presence. That can be what we organize for that. But I think what we do, like Alexandros said, I think.
Agreed, but then again, there's the risk of being this very nice gift, this nice decoration, especially if you bring in the cultural element, in which case there is also this weird asymmetry between serious knowledge during the day and then the Nubians can provide the entertainment.
Oh, no, but you misunderstand. When I say we can bring it, I don't mean we bring it for free. They pay for entertainment. They had to pay to have it at the
but
yeah,
don't want to give entertainment.
No, listen, I get it. This is a conversation we have had time and time. We had it yesterday. It's not just about paying for us to come and dance and sing, but I'm not saying dance and sing. I am saying
Listen, Dima, here is the thing, a concrete suggestion. I know for a fact that there have been discussions in the International Society for Nubian Studies to introduce a membership fee. My suggestion would be that the NubiaFest officially sends a request that the first year of membership fees leading to the conference is being given in order for this to be executed. You have hundreds of members. None of the Egyptians or Sudanese are going to be paying for these fees. Those who are Hawajas will pay in order.
How much? How much?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I really
because
don't know.
If it's,
I'm not a member of the ISNS.
Imagine it's 50, right? Imagine it's 50. Hundreds of members. Okay, what are we talking about? 50,000 euros in total? It's nothing.
It's nothing to do what? Depends what you're saying. If you're saying that you would like to fly in a person with all the expenses paid and an internet connection.
But listen, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Alexandros. But like, how is this decision going to be made? The decision going to be allocating membership fees to project X, Y, or Z is going to be made in like the big membership meeting of the ISNS during the next conference. So in any case, even
it's going to be made by those who are organizing the Warsaw Congress, among who is the president of the ISNS.
But I'm sorry, this is a decision that should be made by the membership. Not that I care, since I'm not a member. But like this, I mean, membership fees cannot just be imposed by the board and then accepted.
No, but if it comes as a suggestion and it's been voted,
this is unrealistic either. This is unrealistic too. It's never gonna happen.
Let me then try to just separate two things. Well, in my mind, that are separated. First, I feel like we haven't yet exhausted the potential of the format that we have at hand. We are not even close to exhausting the potential of the format we have at hand. Also, I am a big proponent of academic shaming. So we can have that as well be a part of this. I am not interested in promoting or asking them to open a space for me, because as you see, Dima, I can open a space and you can, and we can open a space for ourselves, right? I as a Nubian academic, I can tell you how many times I was rejected and my work was rejected from conferences that has Nubia title on it, because I'm interested in Nubians who are actually living, even those who are in anthropology. So you find they have been excluding us for so long, not just as Nubians, but who don't get through due to our economic circumstances to even go to college, but also us Nubians who made it into college and are academics and trying to engage with the academic community on Nubia. So I am not interested in having them support me in any way or support my community. I think, one, we should focus on how do we exhaust the potential of this until we bug Mark Zuckerberg himself, and until Zuckerberg blocks us. I think we have a huge potential here, especially because most of Nubians are on Facebook. There are all these thousands and thousands of Nubians, and I say this from my kind of personal political interest, which is bringing this to actual Nubians and bringing all the people, the Nubians I love, the Nubians by love that I love, like you guys, to our community, to the community I know, and I'm sure you're already plugged into several Nubian communities. But on the other side, I think as knowledge claimers, we have a duty to respond, shame, confront whatever happens in this, what is supposed to be the biggest knowledge production on Nubia of every four. How many years?
Already since 72. Sorry, Asonos, but I completely agree with you. Like, I agree that we are not even close to reaching our potential, and two, and this is also something that Dima and I discussed in our Riverside conversation. I'm a big proponent of ignoring everybody else and focusing on our own institutions, on our own projects. So yes, Alexander. Sorry, I interrupted you, Alex. Alex had his hand up.
No, you didn't interrupt me. It's a flow. It's a discussion. It's
look at the river in Alex. Yes,
definitely. It's I don't think that one activity goes against the other, prevents the other from happening, hinders the development of the potential of NubiaFest. That's why I say also that let's keep NubiaFest for what it is on its own, and let's see how NubiaFest will be represented in the ISNS and bring the ISNS to the Nubians. So I would work in all these three directions, and whether we actually need to have the ISNS paying for a podcaster, a reporter, a journalist, whatever it would be, or not, at least the moral implication of such a request, I will leave it to you. But I feel that both NubiaFest should have a 2022 during its own time allocated for what you people are doing so excellently, and what NubiaFest can do with ISNS and through ISNS should be kept up and alive.
Would you take a moment to share with people who are not as familiar with the structure of ISNS and how that works? How do you propose a panel? Let's say if we want to hold because there are obviously like Nubian academics who have done this work. How do we tie this in and, as you say, be present and without being the gifts like you were saying?
Panel proposals are open right now. In fact, panel and workshop proposals are open right now until 1st of October.
Until the 1st of October,
I'll put up a link.
Everybody has the opportunity to propose a roundtable, a session, or a workshop, and then after these are formed, you can already have invited people, or you can open it up for others to come, and then comes the round of free standing contributions. So it's timely.
I like Dima's notion of preparation that she mentions in that. And so in reparations, but reparations should not be optional. Should we, when we ask them,
nobody's saying be it optional. That's what I'm saying. We call them out in their spaces while we have our own space. Every single scholar academic who is at that conference has a direct link to at least one Nubian village, at least one Nubian scholar, at least. If you are not yielding your platform, you need to be called out. And I say this to Nubians as much as I do to others. I say this to Black scholars as much as I say it to others. If we are not yielding, we must be prepared to be called out. But I go back and I say, which is why when Alexandro's saying it needs to be separate, I just like, yes. And we're all in agreement. This is going, and this is a conversation I've had with people I met in 2018 at the Louvre. and people who are currently organizing and leading the organization of this conference. This is something that has been made very, very clear well before NubiaFest even existed as a seed, that the Nubia Initiative is very, very interested in having the community aspect of this conference integrated in a manner that honors, that respects, that celebrates the the living Nubian community. Because right now, Nubia continues to be studied and dissected from a past angle that, you know, we are only then. There is one day that is dedicated to community engagement or digital studies, digital Nubian studies, and even that does not acknowledge the digital divide fully. The digital divide is there, and it's smack in the middle of everything. We saw yesterday, I mean, we're very blessed to have young Nubians who still return to the village and have this access to, okay, we can plug this, we can project this, we can blast this screen somewhere and have 200 people sit and watch this live all together. In a way, we on the other side of the screen have no access to knowing that reach. But if it's not something that is yielding numbers and statistics and something that can be used for nice and colorful graphs and catalogs and things that will get more funding, there simply is no interest for it within institutions. And I don't think we need to acknowledge or entertain that. In fact, I think we need to call it out. And that's why I'm saying I'd like to understand the structure of what is needed. How often is, I don't know how many Nubians have proposed panels or sessions for ICNS. I don't know if it's just a matter of proposing a session and you're approved, or is there a review for this session that goes, who reviews these sessions? How many Nubians are present in the reviewing of the session? That is what needs to be called on. Not who's there, how are they presenting? That is what needs to be called on. Keynote speakers, no keynote speakers. That is what needs to be called on. Who are we hearing? What message is being sent out there? That is what we need to be discussing. And I think we have plenty platforms, plenty ways that we can have this discussion, you know, whether it's the continuation of By the River or these, one of the things that Minna and I have been talking about is, you know, yielding the conversation between young Nubians who are looking for this revitalization of and the summoning and the resurrection of this heritage that is so desperately being pushed underground and underwater and being buried with our elders, because we have different ways of preserving this heritage, and that in a lot of ways is creating tension, is creating problem, is creating conflict. Because like one of the speakers, who shall remain nameless because this was said behind screens, said that they have had their share of conflict with elders, because there is a feeling that the youth now rising to claim this heritage is trying to steal their time. And it was such a powerful statement. It was such a powerful statement to hear that and feel it in every way, because it's very, very real. And that's a conversation we need to be having. But how do we share that here?
I would like to read out loud Iman's comment. She says there is no honor, respecting, or celebrating of any culture in archaeology that isn't supporting of a colonial agenda. Keep it Nubian and let them come to you under your terms. And she is an archaeologist, so teach us, sister. Yes, I completely agree.
She's an archaeologist. She is a lover of Nubia. She is loud and she is relentless. My first email with exchange with Minna is like with Iman. It's like, where are the Nubians in academia? Why don't we have our field? Where is the? And when I said earlier, check out the Leo Hansberry Society. Check out the Leo. I'm gonna pull out that link. But Vincent, Alexandros, as being people who have been part of this conference, can you tell us more about the selection process of these panels, of these discussions, what we can expect, should expect, and how we can work with that, or how the Nubian community at large that is interested in being present in that can be part of it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Alex should talk to this. I have only been once, namely once in Paris, and I'm not a member.
More, but neither Vincent nor me are members of the ISNS, and we've never been parts of the organizing committee of these conferences, which is the one responsible for selecting out proposed contributions. Normally, it's quite open. I don't know of cases of people who sent something in and it was rejected, but I guess that those did not come in the end, right? So there must be some people who were rejected. The difference this year is that it will not be approached in terms of the cultures that are represented. So Stone Age, Bronze Age, the Kush, medieval Nubia, and so on. But it will be represented thematically, in which themes there is, for example, the topic, as was a suggested topic, not an obligatory one, of community archaeology, which again is not necessarily the only framework that one would like to work inside or through, but there is the possibility of bringing on the challenge of a Nubian panel. I cannot say anything because I'm not.
Yes, I am very. I was hoping for that really, Alexandros, for so long. When I saw all these conferences, I was thinking, oh, you need the Nubian panel, which is basically, please give us a sliver of a space. What I'm trying to push here is that how do we become a pressure apparatus that makes sure that these people decolonize themselves? Because I cannot really go there and do it for them. But they need to know that there is an audit system that speaks Nubian, that looks Nubian, that sounds Nubian, and that also it loves what is Nubian. It's not just a tool to advance in their academic career and get recognition and get a tenure. It's not Nubia for them. Is not just something that's career oriented and that's it. I think we do, however, need to claim the knowledge. This is I would say, Alexandros, is my predicament. How do I pull the knowledge they have that is taken away from us, and it's not we don't get to reach it? Basically, it's out of our reach. How do I get that knowledge, and not just that knowledge that has been through critical lenses, decolonized or critiqued, or has been looked at in a different way, and bringing to that community? So what kind of engagement with these spaces, that an engagement that comes out of, may I say the word, refusal, or not even refusal, but me standing in my roots, but also get the knowledge to me? Well,
it's definitely not a question that can be replied in 3 minutes, Mena, right? But if I attempt a beginning of an answer to what you say, then this must be nuanced in regards to whom are we talking about. So not everybody is the same, because it's the self-reflexive attitude to your role in Nubia has been so much the topic of discussions among the generation of archaeologists and other types of researchers, specialist scholars, you call it what you like, who found Nubia and Sudan through the Meredam Archaeological Salvage Project, that it would be unwise from my side, at least, to say that there has not been an effort to decolonialize the discourse of the way archaeologists understand, done, discussed, and promoted. Now, in there, because it's not even there so easy as that, there are tendencies and tendencies. So, for example, if the popularization of the knowledge issue is at stake, is burning, there has been the last years and 1,000% increase of what we would call community archaeology in very different forms, from top quality to mediocre stuff. And again, I'm not the one who can judge all that, but from the perspective that I am in. And on the other hand, there has never been so many publications, not only in English, about the knowledge coming out of the archaeological sites. Now, where does this knowledge come from? How has it been assembled? Who are those who are funding the publications that we're talking about? This is inside the framework of the Qatar-Sudan Archaeological Project. So now we are entering an arena of politics of at least one of the two states in which Nubia claims its territory. So I think that it's only by engaging in the places where some of, let's call it us, Vincent, are doing their work, discussing their work, and promoting their work, that a grouping like NubiaFest can have a voice, and can have a dialogue. It's not necessary, but I think it should be one of the goals of NubiaFest.
I respond to that. To come back to Minna's question, which is a very difficult question. What you are talking about in terms of like how can we extract the knowledge that has been taken from us, and not only that, how can we extract it in a form that is decolonized, or that is somehow I mean, this is the question of an indigenous population to a colonizing force, but then on the level of academia, right? I mean, that's the question that you're posing, and I am not so sure whether this is possible at all. I'm not at all so sure whether it is possible to decolonize knowledge in that way. It is possible to decolonize knowledge production now, and I think that we are trying to work towards that. And I think that NubiaFest is a way to work towards that. But to recuperate what you call this lost knowledge, or the knowledge which the Nubian community has lost accessibility because it's been laundered through the academic system, this I think is incredibly difficult. And maybe irrecuperable. The argument that Alexander's made, yes, there have been attempts, yes, there have been some papers, but all of that still operates within what I would say is still, by and large, including the lauded community archaeology, which I find in the end a very kind of nearly ironic parallel to something that in artistic practices is called relational aesthetics. It's like, it is like the nice thing that you do for the neighborhood while the rest of the machinery kind of destroys it. And community archaeology, yeah, it's nice. I mean, you produce a children's book. Oh, that's really great. But we still dug up 20 bodies and they're going to be sent out to the lab. So, like, I don't see community archaeology as anything as even close to a paradigm shift. It is still archaeology, and it is archaeology with a very nice humanitarian sauce, but like it is still bitter, and so despite all the good intentions, because good intentions we have aplenty. Like, I trust good intentions all around. Everybody has them, but that's not gonna cut it.
Some place you need to start over, right? Sometimes
I'm
you
not
need to
so
start.
sure. No. I would like to start with bad intentions, to be honest. I have
With
no
what?
good intentions. With bad intentions. I have no good intentions. In that precise sense, because good intentions do not hold any form of power, are utterly powerless against what in the end is a rather ruthless, capitalist-driven academic machinery. And I only have bad intentions for that. The question is how we and how the Nubian community generates enough power to withstand that. And that may be a very unpleasant experience for archaeology and therefore for a large part of Nubiology itself.
I think that
I think looking, if I can finish, looking, for example, at no, it's okay. I mean, we interrupt each other, and now I'm gonna just to push the point a bit forward. If you look at the way that, for example, Native American communities have responded to archaeological work in their territories, to pipelines, to all kinds of infrastructure projects, that is one way, but it's not a way that archaeology is going to like. So I'm not even sure whether archaeology in itself is a maintainable thing within a decolonized environment. I am not so sure if that is. I mean, maybe in 50 years we look in archaeology the same way that you look at, for example, this racist sign of measuring skulls that is now completely discredited. We may look at archaeology as this utterly backward, utterly disgraceful way of doing pseudoscience that is fully useless in actually understing our present. It may very well be.
Totally agree that this epistemological.
There are so many things to be said to all this intersection. I do want to be mindful of time. We have said there will be a family hour. This is still the family. I just want to open the space to to hold that space that we put out, because the institution of Facebook and YouTube will cancel that link if we don't go live on that link. So can we take this conversation there? And
yes,
I know everyone needs to leave, but can we at least say bye on that link before this kicks us off, because Facebook, and they are currently not big fans of mine.
Share the new link. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will see you all there. For the moment, we will say stay tuned on NubiaFest 2021 and on the page. See you.
See you in 2022.
Yes.